Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's jump right into today's explainer, where we are tackling something that most of us desperately need, but we rarely prioritize in our professional lives. I'm talking about humor. Now, if you're someone who thinks being funny is just, some genetic gift you happen to miss out on, well, get ready to completely change your mind.
I want to start us off with this absolutely hilarious story from Andrew Tarvin. He's a computer engineer turned comedian. So, a few years ago, Andrew went to Switzerland for a work trip. And when he gets back, he texts his 78-year-old grandmother just to let her know he made it home safely. Her immediate response, "Dear Andrew, Switzerland? WTF?" Naturally, Andrew immediately picks up the phone. He's like, "Grandma, what do you think WTF means?" And she casually replies, "Oh, well, someone at Bridge told me it means, wow, that's fun." Honestly, this brilliantly sets up the entire core theme of our explainer today, because the world, and especially the workplace, would be a drastically happier and more productive place if we all just adopted his grandmother's perspective and actively thought, wow, that's fun.
All right, moving right along to Section 1, humor is a necessity, not a nice-to-have. In today's overworked, totally sleep-deprived culture, a laugh is definitely no longer just a luxury. What's really wild here is the sheer volume of research-backed benefits that come from simply laughing. Humor literally gets people to actively listen to you. It dramatically increases long-term memory retention, it improves understanding, and directly aids in learning. And on top of all that, from a management perspective, it improves group cohesiveness, reduces status differentials, diffuses conflict, and builds genuine trust. Seriously, it is a highly effective, must-have business asset. So the crucial takeaway here is that humor isn't just about feeling warm and fuzzy inside. It translates directly to professional value. Real-world case studies actually show that people who effectively use humor are paid more. It can quite literally make it rain for your career. But despite all these massive benefits, we still have a huge hurdle. Section 2, Myth versus Reality, the truth about comedy.
To show you just how completely irrational our fear of humor is, let's talk about Kevin Richardson. He is famously known as the Lion Whisperer, and he literally raises and lives with apex predators in South Africa. But when he found out Andrew Tarvin did stand-up comedy, Richardson said, "I could never do that, it's too scary." I mean, think about that for a second. Living with actual lions? Totally fine. Telling a joke in front of people? Absolutely terrifying.
This fear really stems from a totally false perception. We think the ability to make people laugh is somehow magically encoded in our DNA. But humor is a skill, and if it's a skill, that means absolutely anyone can learn it. Andrew Tarvin himself is a self-described nerd, a huge introvert, and a former Type A computer engineer at Procter & Gamble. He learned how to be funny, not through genetics, but through sheer practice, repetition, and basically treating comedy like a manageable project.
Okay, let's dive into this next part. Section 3, Learning from the Pros. Comedy for the office. Because you really don't have to quit your day job to borrow some core techniques from working comedians.
There are 3 really tactical steps we can extract right out of professional comedy disciplines. Step 1 from stand-up is sharing your unique point of view. Step 2 from improv is adopting the yes and mindset to explore and heighten ideas. And step 3 from sketch comedy is committing confidently to your performance. Let's break down exactly how each of these applies to your everyday workplace communication. Starting with the stand-up pillar, sharing a perspective to make a point. Tarvin uses his engineering background to share this brilliant analogy about managing people. He notes that computers are easy, right? Because when something goes wrong, you get a clear error message. But when something goes wrong with a human, you get feelings. Wouldn't it be easier if humans just popped up a warning saying, "System overload, please restart by taking a nap"? Sharing a unique, quirky observation like that is a highly effective, incredibly memorable way to make a serious point about managing your team's energy.
Next up is the improv pillar, that yes and mindset. Think about the number 90,000 for a second. That is the number of hours the average person works in their lifetime. To put that into perspective, that is the entire length of the Netflix discography. Since you are going to spend 90,000 hours at work, you can say yes to that fact and decide you might as well actually enjoy it. You can use yes and to turn totally awkward small talk into meaningful connections, or even invent fun little mental games to pass the time during those tedious tasks.
For our third pillar, sketch comedy, it is all about commitment and practice. A lot of people feel they lack comedic timing because of something called staircase wit. This is that incredibly frustrating phenomenon where you think of the absolute perfect comeback like 4 hours after the moment has already passed.
But here's the really great news. Experiencing staircase wit actually proves you have comedic instinct. It's in there. Through practice and repetition, you just shorten the gap between the event and the punchline until eventually it happens right in the moment.
Section 4. Surviving a bad joke. What if nobody laughs? If you are feeling anxious right now about putting yourself out there and just totally failing, let's look at some safety nets.
You actually don't even have to write a single original punchline to benefit from humor. You can just be a shepherd of humor. Share funny quotes, send your team a TED Talk you really enjoyed, or just embed some fun Creative Commons images into your PowerPoint presentations. And hey, if all else fails, simply smile. When you smile, mirror neurons in the other person's brain automatically prime them to smile back. It instantly creates a human connection with literally zero risk.
But what if you do try an original joke and literally no one laughs? Well, the reality is, no one has ever been fired over a bad joke. An inappropriate joke? Absolutely. An inappropriate joke has the wrong subject, targets the wrong person, or happens at the wrong time. But as long as your humor is fundamentally positive and inclusive, you are totally safe. If a positive, inclusive joke falls flat, guess what? It just becomes a positive, inclusive statement. No harm done.
It's also vital to remember balance here. As a great metaphor perfectly captures, humor is like the salt of a meal. Managers want you to use humor because it drives engagement and gets much better results, but it shouldn't replace the actual work. I mean, you wouldn't need an entire meal made only of salt, right? Because, as Tarvin points out, that would just make you a horse.
Section 5. The choice to laugh. Own your satisfaction. Ultimately, managing your stress and your outlook comes down to your own personal accountability. Remember Andrew Tarvin's grandmother from the start of our explainer? She actually proved that you can learn to master humor at literally any age, escalating her game from just texting to full-on trolling him on Facebook. When he posted a joke, her first response was just the word funny. A few weeks later, she commented, "Haha." And then a few weeks after that, she commented, "Hey, this one is actually good." Trolled by his own grandmother. It just goes to show whether you're a rigid type A engineer or a 78-year-old grandma, humor is a muscle anyone can build.
Look, no one can stop you from listening to a comedy podcast on your morning commute to relieve stress. No one can keep you from finding the joy in your daily routine. It all starts with a simple, active choice to look at the world around you and find the fun in it. So I want to leave you with this provocative question to carry with you. How will you choose to think, WTF, wow, that's fun today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you found it as fascinating as I did, and I'll catch you next time.